Are you doing it because you see an objective at the end of the road first? I think that's a question a lot of us need to ask ourselves. Are we doing what we're doing because you think you can get something tangibly out of it?
Mm.
And if that's it, that's fine. It isn't, I'm not, reprimanding you if that is it, but just be clear on that message or be clear on that pursuit that I can define it that I'm playing this game for money or I'm playing this game for the status that I can get right now. And once you kind of define that, whether yes or no, I think it'll give you a pretty clear direction on who you really are or what really makes you who you are in this chapter, at least. And I think for a lot of the kids who are out there that feel like they have to be defined by football, sounds a lot like slavery to me, in my opinion, and I would never compare it, specifically to that, but it psychologically can be, because if you're doing something just because you feel like you have to do it to provide or to get yourself out of this space, you're probably making the decision out of fear as opposed to love. And those are two polarities that I think a lot of us make a lot of our decisions from. We either making a decision out of anxiety because we're afraid of what the future may bring, or we're making a decision out of fear because of something that happened in the past that leads to depression, in my opinion. And a lot of times, if you are in a place where you're doing something because of what it may bring to you and what it may bring instead of what it may bring out of you, I think that it's a thin line, but the beauty on one side or the other is drastic. When I kind of let go of the idea of just like, I'm doing this just for money or I'm doing this just for status, that's when the vulnerability really came out. That's when the ability to tap into the arts where I'm auditioning, I'm getting callbacks as an actor really allowed me to step into my true self and my true life and capabilities. Because I think a lot of times when you are, I kind of mentioned this earlier, when you're doing something to get something out of it, that's like being a parasite. And once you get that out of it, there's no end to that. It's going to be the next thing. It's going to be the next thing. And then you're burning the rope at both ends until it meets at one point where you got nothing left in you because you weren't able to pour back inside of yourself because it was never coming out of you. You were feeding off of this. You were feeding off of this moment. You were feeding off of this dollar, right? So, my advice for those kids would to be ask themselves, am I doing this just to get something out of it? Or am I doing it so it can bring something out of me?
And I think that's a really, really good question. It's one that it's not an easy answer.
It's not.
Because I think that, let's say, for example, kids like, I'm doing this. The typical like hood story, right? I'm doing this to like get my mom out the hood and get my mom to stop working, et cetera, et cetera. So like doing it for money, I'm doing it for a good reason. But I think the trap is, if you don't come from money, when you get money, most of the time you don't know how to manage money and you don't really know how you're going to change once you get money.
Right.
So I just think that once you identify what it is that you're doing it for, I think accepting that and just riding the wave and just see what happens.
Yeah.
Because I think the only way to really get the answer as to if this is truly why you're doing it is to actually go for it and just see what happens.